Viewer discretion is advised. I'm pretty sure this is in TOS because you don't see anything. You see they maced them. Maced all three of them.
The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
You hear somebody scream gun, 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 and then they start shooting. I don't want to show the rest of that because, like I said, I'm not 100% sure it's TOS because you don't really see anything. But yeah, that's one of the angles I have right now. And so obviously, ICE involved shooting, and there's a lot of creators that really jumped to immediately say, "Oh, these officials don't know what they're doing," blah, 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 and as you can imagine, all the things. But I'm gonna be honest. From what I see in this video, I don't really know. I really don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a justified shoot. And I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a bad shoot either. I think we're going to need to see the body cam footage. And if they have any more angles, we'll need to see them as well. So now I have a couple other angles that I have already here. Let's see if I can. Oh, this is another angle right here. Probably watch this one. So he pushes the guy, and that's the ICE agent. And then he pushes a woman and she falls. He maces the guy. And the guy slips. And now they're trying to yank him off. And I'm trying to understand what even led to this. But now, you know, he's obviously getting punched in the face. You see this guy right here with the gray jacket. You'll see him walk away. Looks like he has a gun in his hand when he walks away. Right here, see? You see he has something in his hand. And that's the first shot. So who knows, did he grab his gun and now was going to go back to secure it and someone else shot? But again, and as you can imagine, when shots ring out, most people are holding the camera, not about to be like, oh, what's going on? Let me see. Let me hold the camera steady. No, they're going to run away. So that's one of the reasons I think that we need body cam footage. And here's probably a better angle of it. This is a slow-mo. See, he has something in his hand. It's definitely a gun, but it doesn't look like the gun that they presented in the press conference, and we'll watch the press conference in a second as well. So, but it doesn't look like the gun they presented in the press conference. And so for me, I'm kind of, again, I'm look, you guys know I've been a defender of ICE, right? I've defended them. You know, I've said that they're doing their job. You know, I've even, obviously they can be aggressive sometimes. But I understand the nature of their job as well as the fact that they're doing it under duress. So for me, I've given them some pass. But parts of what I've said when it comes to ICE always comes from the place where they're law enforcement and people need to abide by the rules, right? And so in this situation, because I've been such a staunch supporter of ICE, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, I also think that ICE should be held accountable when they do something wrong. I'm not necessarily saying they did something wrong here. I'm just saying that I don't know. And I think that's important to understand because a lot of people are jumping to conclusions, and it's real easy to just immediately blame them and say, hey, they murdered this man in cold blood. Okay. The things we know right now is that he had a gun. He was armed. He was fighting with law enforcement. He put his hands on them. I'm not saying that that gives law enforcement the right to just shoot a man, but also if I have my gun on me, I'm probably not gonna fight back. They ask me to get on the ground, I'm getting on the ground, or I'm not getting in the way. Those are some of the key factors that I want to add to this because I haven't really seen from the videos that I have seen, I haven't seen anybody's reaction explain that logic. I want to look at a couple of videos before we get to before this is a different angle, or is this the same? This might be the same angle we saw the first video from. So she clearly was using an Android because it's horrible. Yeah, this is from the first video, but anyways, we're gonna look at a couple more videos as well. Yeah, this is the first video. So that's the guy. See, he's clearly in the middle of the street. And now the ICE agent. Okay, yeah. So the ICE agent pushes the woman, And then it looks like he's trying to defend the woman. But see, right there, he pushes the ICE agent. Say what you want. At least up until this point, I get it. The ICE agent's pushing people. They're standing in the road. They need to get out of the road, okay? They're probably trying to get by. That's number one. Now, we don't know that for sure. So, again, I don't want to jump too fast into a conclusion without more facts because I think that's unfair to all parties who are involved in this, okay? Let's see what else happens here. I mean,
The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
all right, here comes a moment. You remember the guy with the gray? He walks away. It looks like he's reaching in the guy's waistband. Take something. So, and obviously we've seen that, the rest of that. But here's another slow-mo. And here in this slow-mo, let's see what it says. Here it is slowed down. First shot was from a position, an angle that originated from the suspect, and the impact on the pavement can be witnessed. And then it says the pause after is the officers reacting, and then follow on shots come from officers as they engage. So I think he meant to say following shots, but that's all right. So let's see. Let's watch this real quick. Alright, let's see. It says that it ricochets off the ground. Oh, I mean, you do see a little bit of a piece of the ground that kind of comes up. So you see, it looks like something there. Who knows? Again, I don't want to jump to any conclusion. This is another angle. Let's see. Justin, the armed man in Minneapolis, began to draw his firearm before border agents took him to the ground. Okay. Let's see how right this guy is. So it looks like, I mean, his left arm looks like he's going for his waistband. But this guy definitely has a gun right here. If you look at what my cursor is, you see through the window, he definitely has a gun in his hand. And honestly, I'm curious why he decided to walk away. That's an interesting portion right there. This is one of those things that leads me to believe, like, what was he doing? You notice the first shots go off, the guy turns around, like, what the hell? But again, look. Looks like the left hand, he's reaching into his waistband. But again, watching all of these angles so far, can you tell me without a doubt you're leaning one way or the other? I know I can't. Now, I understand that they can be outraged and people are frustrated, and you know, I stand there with them. Like, I'm definitely frustrated. But what did I say, guys? I said this was going to happen. I told you it's going to happen again. And it's going to keep happening until either the mayor or the governor start telling people to stop getting in the way of ICE. This only happens if you're getting in the way of ICE. And then, oh boy, was strapped too. Come on. They're already on high alert. They're, you know, just imagine you clock in, and from the moment you clock in to the moment you clock out, it's just people harassing you and nonstop, like, noise and whistles. And it's like, even at the hotels, you've seen people, you've seen some protests that have been started at the hotels and just all the shit they're going through. That's not an excuse for them to conduct themselves in an inappropriate way. Of course not. But I'm just saying, now you add that level of stress onto the fact that some of them have families and want to go home. And then you add the fact that this guy wants to get in the way and then is strapped. It's like, you know, this is a volatile situation. It's not going to get any better. And right now, I know usually I'm on somebody's side. I'm either on the left or the right, or I'm telling you exactly what I think, but I genuinely don't know. So I don't want to make up this narrative as if I do know, because I would be lying to you guys, and that's not what I do here. You know, I present things from a specific way. And honestly, if I'm leaning towards any way, I think the direction would be, because there were so many ICE agents, because the gentleman was, I wouldn't say, obviously he was on the ground, but he was fighting. But I would think that this situation right here is a perfect example of a perfect storm where nobody wins. There's no right or wrong. The Renee Good situation was completely different. Okay, she was in her car. She should have stopped. She shouldn't have drove forward. There's a bunch of things you could say about her that she shouldn't have did, and there's way less things about the police officer or the ICE agent in her situation that you could say shouldn't have done, right? In this situation, both sides did things that you can see wrong, right? I can say that ICE shouldn't have approached those three people the way they did. They were macing the shit out of them. I think it was 7 or 8 or whatever of them to one guy. So it was 1v8. You guys should be able to get this dude. Obviously the shooting. What can you say about that? It's a shitty situation all the way around, man. I hate Oh, I hate having to be a person who's like, oh, this is exactly what it is, and it's because it's not clear. It's nowhere near clear. And if you say they're clear, if they're creators that you're watching that say it's clear, don't listen to them because they're lying to you. They have a narrative to prove. This guy again with all the Nazi tattoos, even though he says they're not Nazi tattoos, but I think that circle one right there looks interesting on his neck. Let's see what he has to
My
say.
name is Kyle. I'm Antifa, and there's
What's
so
poppin',
much
Kyle?
rage in me that I've had to record this like 15 times trying to get the
Oh
message
boy.
out. They f***ed up, okay? Go watch my other videos. Doesn't matter if you're not here and you're not caught up. You missed the fight. But if you are, it's time to suit up. Boots on the ground. Nicollet and 26th. My house is 4 blocks away. Anywhere between Franklin and Nicollet and 26th and Nicollet. Show up, ready to go. Okay, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. I am talking specifically to my followers. This is everything I have talked about, and this is exactly what I said was going to happen. This is exactly what I said was going to come when we didn't go and march on Whipple with guns. Sorry, but welcome to America 2026, where Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you protected from literal Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your guns and stop these people.
Yeah, I don't suggest that you listen to him. I think it would be a very bad idea and worse. You know, you really gotta think about the thought process of like saying this, right? And he's like, "Oh, we gotta get our guns and go out there and march." And like, do you think that there are more people? You think there's more force on the side of the federal government or on the side of the everyday people, right? And I'm not talking about from a hypothetical where everybody's joined in. Most people don't agree with what Minnesotans are doing. They don't. It's a small section of society that agrees with protesting or even being violent with ICE. With knowing that, do you guys really think that going to attack ICE, you have more resources than the federal agency? Like this guy's ridiculous. And it goes to show you that he's operating from a place of emotion. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a paid agitator. All right, let's start from the beginning.
Once again, reckless, violent, and dangerous federal agents taking the life of a Minnesotan.
Oh boy.
Rather than following standard law enforcement practice, which is focused on public safety and de-escalation, they have killed another person. And the Trump administration has already called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist. He was a nurse. We send our heartfelt condolences to his family and to his friends. And all Americans should be outraged at this unaccountable, violent federal force which is operating with impunity in our city. And you need to know, America, that if it can happen here, it can happen in your community too. So we gather here to say, first, I want to say to the President, stop Operation Metro Surge immediately and send these ICE agents home so our communities can be safe. Second, it is essential that trusted, impartial state investigators at the BCA are allowed to fully investigate what happened here today.
Let's see if she
Third,
tells the people to stop impeding
to express our grief
in the
and
investigation.
outrage at this killing and at the federal invasion of our cities peacefully and with the love that we showed yesterday when so many thousands of us showed up in support of our community. And finally, we must have our Republicans in Congress, they must join with us to condemn this violent and unfettered violent abuse of power and to stop it. And they can do that by refusing to fund this agency so long as it continues to kill and terrorize Americans. That is what Senator Klobuchar and I will be working on in the United States Senate.
Is she not realizing that this is the same exact thing that led people to go out into the streets and get in the way of ICE? Like, ICE is only acting like this because people are impeding.
And I just want to close by thanking so much the local law enforcement and fire departments, not only here in Minneapolis, but all across the state that have been doing everything that they could, everything that you can to keep our cities safe. I once worked in City Hall, and I know what it's like. And I am so grateful for their relentless work to keep our communities safe. Representative McCollum.
All
Well,
white
we
women,
have
by
a
the way.
saying in Congress that we agree and reflect in our remarks those that have spoken before us. So I'm going to take a slightly different tact.
Oh boy.
You know, today, this morning, Saturday, we lost another life, and it didn't have to be that way. To all the protesters who have been out there peacefully protesting, who have
Okay.
been harmed and injured, it shouldn't be happening to you either. But I want to take a second.
If you're peaceful, why were they harmed or injured? That doesn't make sense.
As Senator Smith was, just to reflect on the community. St. Paul stands with you, Minneapolis. The East and West Metro, we're united, as well as all Minnesotans. My phones have been ringing off the hook from frustrated members of communities that are asking me to talk to their Republican members of Congress to do something about the escalation of chaos and violence that has been caused by the presence of the Department of Homeland Security.
Another delusional one. So you're not gonna talk to the people getting in the way? Oh man, this is crazy. I can't even believe this is
Representative
going on.
Morrison and I, along
Actually,
with
I do believe.
Representative,
I can't believe
Omar
it.
and Craig, had an opportunity to show with our votes on the House floor just this week how disappointed we are that the president refuses to listen. Oh, well, we're more than disappointed. We are outraged. Part of the bill that was on the floor was to provide more body cameras for ICE. Well, they have them already in the thousands, and they refuse to wear them. So, Secretary Noem, have your officers suit up and put on their body cameras, just like our law enforcement does.
Yeah, I don't have
Our
a
law
problem with that.
enforcement
They
here, we
should be wearing body
appreciate you,
cams.
especially those of you who've been working the extra shifts. To the school boards, to the community service volunteers, everybody out there in this community, you make us so proud to represent you in the United States Congress. We hold our head up high with how Minnesota is reacting to this. We celebrate 250 years of this United States of America. And I'll close with quoting Benjamin Franklin. He came out of the Constitutional Convention and he said, it's a republic if you can keep it. Well, we're showing we want to keep it a republic with peaceful protesting. Stay calm, be safe, take care of one another. And when you see a National
don't
Guard
impede.
person out there trying to relieve one of our police officers, know that they're there to protect you. So please respect everyone out there trying to keep us safe. And with that, I'd like to welcome up my colleague from the West Metro, Representative Morrison.
My question is, okay, so you want to say, all right, understand that the National Guard is out there and they're trying to protect you and respect them. What about ICE? What about the eight? Like, again, you're missing this is like whole cutout of the picture that you're missing, and it's like either myself and other creators that are on the internet are the only people who can actually show that.
You know, the day after tens of thousands of Minnesotans showed the world how to stand up peacefully against this administration's cruelty, lawlessness, and unacceptable
lawlessness. See?
occupation.
And
demand
occupation.
that
Oh,
ICE
boy.
leave our state and end this federal invasion. The world is watching yet again as one of Donald Trump's federal agents have shot and killed another United States citizen in broad daylight in the middle of the street. First, we lost Renee Nicole Good, and now Alex Jeffrey Preddy, a 37-year-old man, a Minnesotan, an ICU nurse, a resident looking out for his neighbors as Minnesotans always do. And I do want to pause and offer my deepest sympathy and profound condolences to Mr. Preddy's family and friends. I am so sorry for your unimaginable loss. And we are once again now being asked to deny what we saw with our own eyes. We watched the videos of a masked federal agent shooting Alex in the back multiple times while he was pinned down by more than 6 other masked federal agents.
That's actually not true, but okay. Let's let her cook, you know? She has glasses, so she must have seen it in 4K HD, right?
And once again, DHS has come out with a predetermined narrative that contradicts everything we saw with our own eyes. 2 37-year-old Minnesotans are now dead, a poet and a nurse. For what? We cannot lose any more lives. We need a full, transparent, and comprehensive investigation led by our BCA. And ICE and Border Patrol need to halt all operations in the state and leave immediately.
They're not.
And
They're not
Congress
going anywhere.
cannot be complicit in facilitating these lethal operations and federal occupation of our cities. We are standing here as a united front today, pleading for our Republican colleagues who control the Congress and who took the same oath to defend the Constitution and uphold the rule of law that we did, to stand up and stop this. Put your state and your country first. Put it ahead of your loyalty to this president. Minnesotans are in agony watching their communities terrorized and families torn apart. ICE and CBP agents are traumatizing our communities, violating Minnesotans' constitutional rights, unlawfully detaining and arresting United States citizens, racially profiling people, forcing schools, restaurants, and businesses to close. And people are dying at the hands of these federal agents. It has to stop now before anyone else is hurt. And I return it to the mayor. Thank you.
Why don't they have accountability for what the people are doing?
Between tens of thousands of people just yesterday peacefully protesting, standing up for their neighbors, no injuries, no damage to property. That is how Minnesota and Minneapolis shows up versus what we saw again this morning. That is what is causing chaos on our streets, those actions that we saw on video, and you can believe your own eyes. With that, we'll open it to questions.
Senator Klobuchar, are you willing to use every lever of power at your disposal as a member of the minority party to stop what is happening here, up to and including a government shutdown?
Right now, we are focused on getting ICE out of this state. And of course, we will use every lever that we have. But I do remind people that Donald Trump runs the White House. And sadly, because to date we have not seen the Republican members of Congress standing up, he also seems to run the Congress. But the point here is that there are many changes that we could make. You know, why aren't we helping fund local law enforcement instead of what they did with this bill last summer where they tripled the budget? And why aren't
You know why she's not gonna do everything in her power to stop this, including closing the government down? Because Donald Trump will enact the insurrection law. He would. I'm pretty like it needs to happen already. First off, they should have been deployed to military. I'm tired of saying this. Like it's just crazy. These people are the problem. I don't even blame the people that are in the streets. I mean, obviously, I put some blame on them as well. But the real problem are the folks like these who are not telling these folks, hey, they are federal law enforcement. Do not impede in their investigations. You impede, they're going to use force, and then they're also going to arrest you. You need help.
they pledging to have a full investigation of what happened? I have a lot of respect for our local law enforcement here, and I appreciated the words of some of my colleagues who talked about the fact that people have to differentiate here with what they're doing on the front line every single day. So there are many things we could do. Budgets are a value choice, and that's what we're asking our Republican colleagues to do. I work across the aisle all the time. I work with them, and I know that many of them understand that what's going on right now is wrong. And so the way to get to a higher ground, honestly, is to get them to get ICE out of our state right now, to call the president, to speak out as we have been doing day after day after day, and to remember these little kids who are afraid to go to school, and to remember the people who are legal citizens who are wrestled to the ground yelling,
These little kids.
I'm born
Oh my
here.
God.
I was born here.
Oh
and
my
to remember these two that we've lost. And I hope
Jesus.
that's something that they all take home and that the people of this country do as they look at how they can get.
This isn't gonna stop until one of them go to jail for their rhetoric.
So there's two forms of request that we have been asking for. The first was this temporary restraining order. The other possibility is some form of injunctive relief. Now, I don't want to get too into the details because I'm bound to get something wrong. But the question is,
You got a lot of
urgency
things
and
wrong, buddy.
immediacy. The issue is that we recently saw somebody shot and badly injured. We then saw somebody shot and killed, and that was the second one. Chief, I think we've only had 3 homicides in the city this year. Is that right? 2 of them, ICE. 3 homicides. 2 of them were from ICE.
Why don't you give the details of why these people were not following the law? They were impeding. Then they resisted with force. Both of them having deadly weapons. The first one was a car. The second one was a gun. I'm not trying to justify the shoot because we still need a lot more information. But come on, bro. Like, there's no way I can't stand this guy. I really can't. And you know, I don't know him personally. He's probably married, great with his kids, treats his wife great. But like, bro, come on. You can't be serious.
And so the relief that we're asking for is stopping this Operation Metro Surge in the immediacy. It's preventing this massive influx of agents that is making it very difficult for us to do our jobs in the city as well as we need to do them. And we need to do regular day law enforcement as well. Yes.
They defied a search warrant this morning. Do you think they'll abide by a court order from the federal judge?
They have to abide. So the question is, they defied a search warrant this morning. Will they abide by a court order by a federal judge? Everybody listen to that question. The question is, will this administration abide by a court order? These are the underpinnings of our democracy, of our republic, and of this Constitution. The answer is yes. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you abide by those court orders. The answer has to be yes if you are a patriot for this country. And so, yes, my expectation is that they will abide by the court order because there is not an alternative.
Chief, if I can just ask you, and also Senator Klobuchar and the other legislators, the rhetoric today seems back to where it was in the aftermath of Renee Good, if not even higher. Senator Klobuchar posted on X, Stephen Miller, then the president slammed Senator Klobuchar's post. I mean, this is going on. The vitriol is through the roof on social media. Is there any way, or how are you going to come together? I mean, is there any way to approach the other side?
Yeah. I'll answer for myself and from the city's perspective, and certainly turn it to Senator Klobuchar. I want everyone to just quickly look at the juxtaposition between the way that Minneapolis is showing up and the way that the federal government is showing up. I want you to look at the difference between the elected leaders and our chief that you've heard talk just before me. They're calling for peace. They're calling for peace notwithstanding this horrific action from the federal government. What are they doing? They're not investigating the person that killed our citizens. They're investigating us.
Yeah, because you guys are doing wild shit.
This is political retaliation. This is about a political narrative, and that narrative is making people less safe.
Nah. What's making people less safe is what you're saying.
The last few weeks, making our views clear, standing our ground, but also reaching out to this administration, to Republican leaders, to try to get them to understand how dangerous this is, how unsafe this is. I met with chiefs from across the metropolitan area. Chief O'Hara was on this call, and they have been reaching out, some of them publicly, some of them behind closed doors. The business community has been reaching out. I have been personally reaching out to the president's chief of staff and spoken with her.
I'm curious what that
We have
conversation
done
was
this
like.
day after day after day. So we're not just shutting out any discussions, but we've been explaining to them, and I know the governor has, how dangerous this situation is. And I have specifically told people that someone else was going to die. I said this a few days ago.
Yeah, I
said
mean,
it
I
might be
could have
by car,
predicted that.
It might be by some other way. And it just seems like you hope that they're going to de-escalate, and then they keep escalating it up. Right now, I hope.
Who's they? Who's they? You talking about the crowd, or you're talking about ICE? This whole press conference is worthless. Not one thing has come out of their mouth to address the folks who are getting in the way of the federal agents and fighting with federal agents and putting their hands on federal agents. Like, why not say that?
They're listening.
I don't think it'll ever
and
make
I
sense.
mostly hope that our Republican colleagues are listening and that they will step in, even if it's behind closed doors. If they will make those calls and say, we've got to end this now, and we've got to bring those people out of Minnesota and let our local law enforcement do our jobs. And I'll let some of my colleagues answer this.
Well, I'll just say that I completely agree with the mayor and the senator. But I mean, it is my obligation as a United States Senator to speak about what I think is happening in my state and to define it for what I think it is. That is my job. And one thing I have learned about this president is that he does not respond to appeasement. He is a bully. He does not respond to people who appease him. He responds much
What does he
better to
respond to?
strength than he does to weakness. And I think what we have seen in this state, I am so proud of it. We have seen a combination of strength and peacefulness that really says who we are. And I believe that that is our best path forward.
Yeah, a bunch of idiots standing in front of cars and a bunch of idiots who have funded daycare centers and healthcare centers, and you haven't shown anything but stupidity. This is the worst example of strength. This is the worst example of unity. Peaceful protests, great, go right ahead. But what some of these people are doing, I'm gonna just play the video.
Trying to convince this administration that the path that they are on is dangerous to public safety, and it is a losing path that they must abandon.
Oh, a losing path. Okay.
Chief O'Hara,
We're just wondering when this is going to be over. I think a lot of people are feeling very tired and are just wondering when this is going to end. What's your message to your constituents? It will be over when we speak as one voice, as one Minnesota, as everybody has been out in the streets. You know, ICE was here in June, and there wasn't any problem. We weren't happy about it. There were people who we were concerned about the way that deportations and arrests were happening. We were worried. But we handled it in a peaceful way. The escalation now is not because Minnesota changed. It is because this White House and Stephen Miller have decided to change their tactics here.
What do you think?
It will end. It will end when our colleagues who are hearing from their constituents, because they are reaching out to me and others, listen to their constituents and stand with their constituents and not stand with a White House that is not following the Constitution, breaking our laws, and not.
Oh my God. Jeez. Let Chief O'Hara speak. I want to hear what he has to say.
Not living up to the values of this country. That's when it will end.
What do you
I have
think
a question for the.
Sounds ridiculous.
is for Donald Trump at this point?
Oh my God.
To accomplish with this? Anybody out there?
I don't think anybody knows.
I don't think anybody.
Look, I do not pretend to know what Donald Trump is thinking. I do know what they're saying publicly. And on the one hand, they are talking about this being an action that is required for safety, and it is doing exactly the opposite. It is creating danger in our state. Again, if this were about safety, there would be many, many options. Our governor has stated, I have stated, we are very much willing. In fact, we have been working with them to apprehend violent offenders, to prosecute these cases, to get criminals off of the streets. That is not what we are talking about right now.
That's not
what
true.
they are also saying is that this is simply political retaliation. They are saying this is political retribution, and it's focused here on a blue city in a blue state. That's not how America works. Other countries function that way. We don't. And so no matter your background or your ideology, this should be of deep concern for you no matter what town you're in America, because your town could be next. Your liberties, your freedoms could be sacrificed because of what this administration is doing.
Thank you. I know our end game, and our end game is to keep Minnesota safe. And so we are asking that ICE get off of our streets and out of our state. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have follow-up questions, it's to communications@minneapolismn.gov. Communications.
Yeah, of course. Ridiculous. Silly. Oh, Secretary Noem is live right now? All right, let's see what's popping. Let's see what she has to say.
Here at the FEMA headquarters and have opened our National Response Coordination Center and are working with local and state authorities to make sure that we're getting individuals and communities pre-deployed resources that they may need and also preparing them for the upcoming days, which will significantly impact them and their citizens. The Trump administration and FEMA are working closely with them to get them information, to get them resources, and to help them be prepared and well equipped for the road ahead as we go through this next week. But before I take...
Hey, yo, hold up. Is this person right here on the back left-hand corner on X? That looks like X. That definitely looks like X. Hold up. One sec. I know I'm distracting, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's on X, bro. Maybe she's the social media coordinator. Who knows? Let's go ahead and pay attention to what she's saying.
Take any questions and give more details on the storm and its impact. I do want to address
Oh,
the
she's only
tragic
talking about
situation that we
the
saw
storm.
in Minneapolis today.
Oh, there we
that
go.
unfolded
Okay.
on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country. At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds
Yeah, I don't know
of
if I agree with that
protesters
either,
then showed
but-
up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off.
Damn.
Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen.
He got
Our
his
law
finger
enforcement
bitten
are doing
off?
everything that they can to protect the public. We're praying for this deceased loved one's family and friends, but we also recognize that the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to evaluate their rhetoric, their conversations, and their encouragement of such violence against our citizens and our law enforcement officers. I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie. He's called them
Right.
the Gestapo.
That's
He's
crazy.
encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist, He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murderers to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice, and even overseen a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars. Tens of billions of dollars were stolen under his watch, and he allowed it to happen, and in some instances may have even facilitated it.
Right, Waltz is screwed.
In other
I'm
cities
not
and
even gonna
states
lie.
across the country, we
He did
don't
a
see
bad
this
job.
happen. Local, state, and officials work with us to make sure that we're making their streets safer. I'll point to the city of Memphis, which is where there is a Democrat mayor in place. He worked with us and our federal law enforcement officers, and we saw murder rates drop by 50% because of that partnership. We've seen historic lows in the criminal acts that have happened in that city. We've had the same amount of law enforcement officers there, but a very different result because of the leadership in place. Last week, ICE did over 2,000 different operations, and we saw people be brought to justice and the American people made safer because of that work. We don't have this problem in Texas or in Florida because those individuals in those states work with us, and they make sure that they keep peace and calm while they bring criminals to justice. In Minneapolis, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, they instead choose violence. They instead choose to encourage the destruction of their city and the crime against their people. It appears that they want this lawlessness to continue. It appears that they want chaos to distract from the theft and the fraud and the corruption of their
I
city.
think she's right.
I'll remind you that this city has been
think she's
corrupt
onto
for
something.
years with what we've seen with people that have been stealing taxpayer money, all under the leadership of Governor Walz and Mayor Frey. I'm asking for all the authorities in Minneapolis and the leaders to work with us, and there are two things that we have repeatedly asked.
It feels like some people live in a fantasy world where resisting is heroic. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Poetic woo. That is a perfect way to put it.
To the governor
Literally
and the
what's
mayor
going
to
on,
do.
what's happening.
Number one, all we want them to do is that when they are going to release a dangerous criminal from their jails, turn them over to us so we can get them out of this country as soon as possible. Since we have been back in the White House with President Trump's leadership, they have released over 490 criminals onto their streets.
Damn.
Rather than allow us to get them out of the country to keep families safe. The second thing that we have asked the governor and the mayor to do is to help us keep people safe. Just give us backup on the streets while we do our targeted operations to get illegal criminals out of our country, and then we wouldn't have to be there facing these types of situations that we face with violent rioters who are impacting and attacking our law enforcement officers. That's all. Those are the two requests that we've asked of them. We've asked them to help us do that so that we can continue to see success in Minneapolis like we see in so many other cities and communities across the country. But they have refused because they want us talking about attacking law enforcement officers instead of the fraud and the theft that they facilitated in Minnesota. One thing I'd like to do before I take your questions on that situation on the storm is give you a few facts about the storm and what we're facing here in the coming days.
Oh, I'm not about to watch that because I don't really want to hear that, but I do want to see what Walt said earlier. So let's see. See if we find, yeah, here we go. Oh, even as sign language interpreters, LGBTQ, all the other numbers. Like, what's oh, why does my brain work like this?
Thank you all for being here. I'll have a short statement, then I'll turn it over to Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson to update the situation, joined here by Hennepin County Sheriff Witt.
Let's see how short
State
this
Patrol
is.
Colonel, and General Menke, the Adjutant General of the Minnesota National Guard. Well, as I said last week, this federal occupation of Minnesota long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. It's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of our state. And today that campaign claimed another life. I've seen the videos from several angles, and it's sickening.
This guy.
But I have a strong statement here for our federal government. Minnesota's justice system will have the last word on this. It must have the last word.
How? They're federal
As I
agents.
told the White House in no uncertain terms,
not
this
even how
morning,
that
the federal
works.
government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period. Let me say something else, and this is critically important.
Okay, Timmy.
All of us understand what happened this morning and the tragedy of it, and my deepest sympathies to the family of a 37-year-old Minnesota resident, a lawful firearm concealed permit carrier,
Who's resisting officers?
something that I've been lectured to by Republicans for decades, that is not only your right, it's your duty. We know that the potential to further inflame tensions is high, and to Minnesotans, there's a difference. We want calm and peace and normalcy back to our lives. They want chaos. We cannot and we will not give them what they want by meeting violence with violence. Minnesota and our local law enforcement, as you have seen, have done everything possible to de-escalate. Local media has reported extensively.
What? They've done everything possible to de-escalate? Bro, have you been smoking? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Even the people in the chat. You can now fight the law by physically resisting officers who are just trying to do their job. Yes, come on now. The stupidity of resisting law enforcement is the stupidity of resisting law enforcement in 2026 is something I never expected to see.
On the cooperation to de-escalate
What is this guy talking
situation.
about?
Donald Trump, I call on you once again. Remove this force from Minnesota. They are sowing chaos and violence.
What about the people?
We've seen deadly violence from federal agents again and again and again. But in contrast to that, on these frozen streets, what you witnessed yesterday was the best of Minnesotans, peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. And I attended in the church basement hundreds of Minnesotans from all faith packing care packages for families that have been ripped apart. Despite the horrific acts by this federal government, Minnesotans are standing up for the rule of law. They're protesting loudly and urgently, but peacefully. It must stay that way, Minnesota. Minnesotans are witnessing, and we're creating a log of evidence.
His definition of peaceful is completely different than
Prosecution
mine.
of ICE agents and officials responsible
Crazy.
for this. They're helping their neighbors. They're walking their kids to school. They're feeding families. I salute their courage and their restraint, and I call on all Americans to see the decency that this state is exhibiting and the horrific cruelty, unprofessional, absolute abomination that is passing for what these ICE agents are doing on our streets. They think they can provoke us into abandoning our values. Well, they're dead wrong. We'll keep the peace, we'll secure the justice with our neighbors, and we'll see this occupation ends. Minnesotans and Minnesota law enforcement that continuously is being denigrated by this administration will continue to be the adults in the room, the professionals in the room, the decent human beings in the room that will keep the peace. With this, I'd like to turn it over to Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson to update you on the.
Well, I guess he took Sneako's advice and just doubled down. He's making no sense.
Thank you, Governor. I'm Bob Jacobson, Commissioner of Public Safety for the Department of Public Safety, and again, it's my honor to serve in that position. A man was shot and killed this morning in Minneapolis. I want to pause and remember what cannot get lost in this moment.
Tell us.
The man died.
Yes, he did.
His family and friends are feeling unimaginable heartbreak and trauma. And I know Minnesotans and I know our community will rally around this man's family and friends to support him. I also understand clearly that people are upset. They're scared, they're confused, and I want to assure you that this state's public safety officials and our local law enforcement partners are doing everything in our power to get answers, to help return a sense of normalcy back to our communities.
The only way you get that is if people start listening.
You have the right
Stop
to
getting in the way.
demonstrate peacefully. We recognize that demonstrations are
he
often
might
driven by
say
strong
it.
emotions, beliefs, and a desire to be heard. But please, please remain peaceful. And I want to say it again that because it is important.
And you notice how he doesn't say you need to not impede with the investigation. Federal agents are law enforcement. He's not saying the things that people need to hear in order to actually understand, like, hey, we probably shouldn't be doing this, which is why they're getting the response they're getting. Again, I'm not saying that the guy being shot is okay. We don't know. It's still early in the situation. I've already expressed my thoughts on that. But at the end of the day, things like this don't happen if you don't get in the way of ICE. I understand you're mad. I get that you're frustrated. I get all of those things, but it doesn't give these folks the right to intervene the way they have been.
Peacefully demonstrate. By doing so, you help local authorities to get answers. You help us to do our investigations. By remaining peaceful, you help ensure nobody else may be killed or injured. The thousands and thousands of people who gathered yesterday in Minneapolis proved that Minnesotans can make their voices heard peacefully, and they can do so without violence, and they can do so without destruction. And state resources are available and ready to support our local law enforcement partners as requested. And those resources include the Minnesota State Patrol, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and the Minnesota National Guard. With that, we'll stand for questions.
Kendra with Chair Levin. Governor, you made this request before. Is there any reason to believe that it will be answered differently?
Hold on one second. I was trying to turn on the closed caption. Have you had any conversations with the president, with the federal government? And is there any indication that they are going to pull out or pull back?
I spoke twice this morning, shortly after I received the call of this shooting. I spoke with the president's chief of staff, and first request was to get her people out of there, to get these federal agents out of there. They were going to cause more chaos.
You know they're not going to
And
do that,
second
Timmy.
call
Come on.
was, with no uncertain terms, that we will investigate this. We will not be stonewalled. What we've already seen, and you saw it this morning, before any investigation is done, you have the most powerful people in the federal government spinning stories and putting up pictures, and unrelated people who we don't know anything about, and a picture of a firearm to try and spin a narrative.
It's what happened. It's not my fault you don't know, but it's what happened. Come on, guy.
And I ask Americans, this will end when enough Americans say this will end. Do I have any confidence Donald Trump will do the right thing? No, I don't have a lot of confidence Donald Trump will do the right thing. I do have a lot of confidence that the majority of the American people will do the right thing. And I think there cannot be very many people across this country looking right now after.
We are doing the right thing. Most of us are sitting our happy asses at home, not getting in the way. Even the ones that live in Minnesota. So he's right on that. At least he's getting something right.
After all the reporting that's been done, after everything that's been said under the pretense that they are here about immigration reform, and quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement.
Oh, what are they
We
then?
have law enforcement who do an incredible job. And to listen to Greg Bovino denigrate the work of our people who are out there cleaning up their mess, no, I don't have a lot of confidence that he himself will do it.
This dude
But
is
here's what
sick.
I do have confidence
My
in.
boy's doubling
There are
down,
a lot
huh?
of Republicans, for whatever reason, cannot find their spine. But they might find the ability to know that they're not going to win another election as long as they live, unless they stand up for what's
Shit,
right,
okay.
and stand up for the rule of law, and stand up
All
for human
right.
decency, and that's the moment.
Just a follow-up, because then if that is not the case, what are the people of Minnesota supposed to do who are in the middle right now? Because if they
Yeah.
just stonewall and
Yeah.
you're trying to investigate, is that forcing?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And look, I speaking to the people of Minnesota right now, I hear that scream from you, and I'll continue to plead and ask you for peace. And I know the answer is you ask us for peace and we give it, and we get shot in the face on the streets coming out of a donut shop.
Oh, boy.
We cannot
This
give them what they want. I don't know how to say this in so many terms to watch the madness that we've witnessed over this last.
It's real easy. Let me help you, Timmy. First off, you start by telling people, listen, don't get in the way. don't impede. Take videos and pictures from the sidewalk, from public areas. Don't yell at them. Don't get in the way. Don't block them in with cars. Don't try to hit them with cars. Don't crash their convoys. Don't follow their convoys. That's where you start. And peace will slowly come back. And then also the second part of that is those who have been doing that or continue to do that, you lock them the fuck up. And then you grab your local police and you let them help ICE. That's it. It's real simple. And they'll catch all the people that they're trying to catch, and then they're out of your hair, Timmy, or the little bit of hair you got left. That's it. There you go.
Week coming out of the White
You're welcome.
House and what it's doing here. My confidence is, and I say it to Minnesotans, as I've said, exercise your First Amendment rights, speak out, bear witness and document legally. But I understand the risk in that, and I understand the courage that it takes to have.
How is there risk in something you do legally? That doesn't make any sense, Timmy. Come on, man. Come on, bro. You've been sipping that Biden juice, bro, making you forget things.
People out there doing this. Thank God we have video, because according to DHS,
thank God,
these 7 heroic guys took an onslaught of a battalion against them or something. It's nonsense, people.
That's not what they said, but okay.
So my confidence is this, Minnesotans. You know who you are, and you demonstrate it every single day, and we damn sure know who these people are. The American public knows, and this needs to be the event that says enough. Go ahead. No, I'm up front.
You or Commissioner Davis can speak to the fact that you talk about you don't trust the federal government to handle this investigation. We know with the Renee Good shooting, BCA said that they were blocked from accessing evidence. Has there been any suggestion that BCA is not allowed to do this investigation? Do you have officers on the ground doing the investigation right now?
Okay, that's a good question. Let's see.
The question was related to whether or not the BCA is on the ground currently with the investigation, and a reference to previous investigations that the BCA have attempted to be a part of. What I'll tell you right now is that we no longer have BCA agents or public safety, state patrol, or Minneapolis on the ground at that crime scene.
Is that an instruction?
They're done collecting evidence?
Or did you pull your agents out?
What I will tell you, and not to get further into the investigation, but DHS pulled out of the scene, leaving that to Minnesota State Patrol, Minneapolis. We did not have enough resources to be able to hold that ground safely, and we had to leave that scene because of the number of people that were available and the safety of those in the public and the safety.
Oh, so looky here. So let me get this straight. DHS pulls out, you guys move in, and then you guys can't even collect evidence because you don't, not only do you not have enough police officers, but it's dangerous because a bunch of the protesters then moved on you guys. Do you see the problem with your rhetoric? Do you see what it's causing? You can't even conduct an investigation. You guys are supposed to be on the side of the Minnesotans, right? Like, come on, bro. This is crazy. This isn't, the fact that that is something that happened in the US is like the Insurrection Act. Right now, ahora mismo. Let's go. It's crazy.
Our teams, we were able to get there, but at that time we were not able to hold that scene to do a crime scene investigation. I can't talk any more about those details.
I wonder why you can't.
It's not either DHS nor state officials right now.
We'll have more on that, but the BCA is engaged and involved, and we are working at the request of the Minneapolis Police Department on this, on the scene and in this investigation. So we are there, we're available. We want to make sure that we continue to work on this and engage with our federal law enforcement, but at this point, we don't have anything more to share about the crime scene. Again, we were not able to hold it. We wanted to make sure and keep people safe, but federal law enforcement left the scene and left us there.
Governor Ernesto, with the New York Times, have you activated the National Guard? I know that the Sheriff of Witt has requested for additional assistance. Can you tell us whether they're going to be playing a role in keeping?
Yes, the answer is yes, we have, as we said last week, and we staged.
Oh, they activated the National Guard?
Talk about where they're at, and
oh boy,
again, use this as an up.
You imagine a situation where the National Guard is confronted with the decision of whether we help ICE or we impede on what ICE is doing. This is going to lead to bigger problems. I'm telling you right now. I said this last week. I'll say it again this week. I've been saying this for weeks on end. This is not going to stop. They're not going to slow down. They do not care. Tim Walz and his cronies and the rest of the legislature in Minnesota, they do not care. They're going to burn Minnesota to the ground, and they want to bring as many people as they can with them.
Opportunity to stress to Minnesotans. The frustration you have, and as you saw this, they killed a man, created chaos, pushed down protesters, threw gas indiscriminately, and then left the scene, and then we're left to clean up. I understand the anger. I understand trying to parse who were the law enforcement on the scene when you got there after a man was killed is difficult for folks who are out there. But I can't stress enough, our goal, and I'll have General Minke talk about what the role of these Guard troops are in conjunction with incredible work from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, from mutual aid across, and of course the State Patrol, of trying to get to the point where what we're saying is we can handle this and Minnesotans can express their First Amendment rights and have our folks on the streets and get these people out of here. And so, John, if you want to talk a little bit, but the answer is yes, there's activated. He can talk to you about numbers. Yeah.
So the question is, what's the National Guard doing right now? So we have, we have been on state active duty for over a week. So we've had soldiers prepared in the metro area to respond in a much rapid manner than if they were not mobilized. So we have a request from the Hennepin County Sheriff to support them, and that is to help them free up additional resources for other work that they need to do. And we have started coordinating with them this morning on that, and that first area of support will be assisting them with their requirement to provide security to the Whipple building. So we'll be helping them there. And then we are in parallel planning with other organizations within the state of Minnesota, to include the State Patrol, the Minnesota DNR, and other local agencies to render assistance if requested.
Could you say how many are now deployed?
I would say that the number that we have is adequate for the requests that we have right now, and I will also tell you that we are bringing more resources that will be able to respond in a timely manner that are not fully mobilized yet, but we are mobilizing more soldiers as we talk at this time. I'd like not to get into specific numbers for an operational security standpoint, but right now we have all the resources to meet the requests that we have.
I would note on this one, too, that we'll be billing the federal government for the cost of the National Guard because they are
this
costs
guy.
that are falling on us by their
This fucking guy.
actions. Yes, sir.
You alluded to this earlier, but are you rejecting the narrative that has been presented by federal officials that this man, this 37-year-old citizen of Minneapolis, posed a threat to these agents? And are you rejecting the idea that he played some role with his weapon in leading to
I'm rejecting the
Right.
rush to judgment within 15 minutes of this, which they did last time. That's why you need to have a fair investigation, and that's why a video can show one
What?
thing, but what happened beforehand. But they already will slander this individual. They've already made this the case, and I will just say you will all start to see it, and some of you probably have. There's multiple angles of this, and I'll go back to what we talked about before. They're telling you not to trust your eyes and ears, not to trust the facts that you're seeing in front of them, and at some point in time, your reporting, and I think the reporting this week has been spectacular across Minnesota, that
Yeah, this is the week of reporting where they said they detained a 5-year-old boy. I think anybody trying to make up their mind right now without access to the body cams or access to every angle, which I'm assuming the federal government will have plenty of access to a lot of the angles, if not every single angle, then I don't trust them for jumping to a conclusion. And I don't think the federal government has jumped to a conclusion. But we're going to find out what happens, and again, and I'll say it as many times as I need to say it. If it is proven or it is shown that his gun was removed from him and they shot him anyways, then of course I will have no problem in agreeing and saying, yeah, whoever shot him or all the police officers who shot, they need to be relieved of duty, because this is not the kind of things we need to have. We need to have accountability when someone does something wrong, and I will be the first one to say it. I have no problem with that.
there's not two sides to every story, but in this situation, what
There's
I'm saying
not?
is
Wait a
that,
second.
there's not two sides to every story, but in this,
There's 3 sides to every story. There's the truth, there's the lie or the narrative, right? And then there's what really happened. Oh boy. There's not 2 sides to every story. Okay. I guess not, Timmy.
situation, what I'm saying is we need to have a fair investigation, understanding what's happening and held accountable. We continue to hear, and we heard it from the vice president, that these folks can do whatever they want. They can have full immunity.
That's not what
I'm
he
telling you,
said.
they will
Come
not.
on,
There will be
Timmy.
justice
Stop
for
lying.
Minnesotans. Continue to gather the information. So I won't say where it is because I think it's irresponsible to make that judgment. But what I see with my eyes and what you're going to see with your eyes makes that pretty hard to believe. And I would imagine as a federal officer, they would have come out and sounded like these professionals sound and say, we need to gather the information, we need to gather all the facts, we need to put them forward, and then we can make some informed decision based on the fact. They've written the narrative already. And the audacity to critique
I disagree.
the police
I
chief
disagree.
of Minneapolis
Well,
after what work that those heroic officers are trying to do, and to be critiqued by this guy, I mean, I don't know, I've said it a lot, but America, as you're listening, enough is enough. Enough is enough of this. End this. End this. And we see them moving to Maine. If you're in Boston, you're in Chicago, you're in Philly, you're in Miami, it doesn't matter. We can't live like this. Our children are in trauma. A 5-year-old, you saw the picture, the bunny hat and the Spider-Man. These are not like some narrative to throw around, to parade around in some coat you had made and act like you're a tough guy or whatever. These are people's lives, and we have rule of law. So I'll let the investigation play itself out. We will do our best to find it, but I don't know, you kill a man and then you just leave your law enforcement, you just leave it. Is there a single case in American history where you just like walk away and say, I guess that just happened and we're not going to clean up our mess?
What do you expect them to do?
I'm proud of Minnesotans.
Collected their evidence, they
Here
left.
in our park.
They let you guys take over.
I think we have time for another one.
And then, like you said, you guys couldn't hold the scene. So, I don't think he remembers the things he said like 20 minutes prior.
So, yes, ma'am. I'm better off to let these guys, the professionals, I have my thoughts.
So the question was, what are we doing to assist federal law enforcement on getting violent criminals off the street, if I understand the question?
Right.
State and local law enforcement are always ready and willing and able to arrest violent offenders. We do not stand down from that, no matter where we get that information from. If there are violent offenders or violent criminals or violent crimes, we will investigate and we'll bring those to justice. If the federal government would like to work with us, to continue to work with us as they have in the past, to locate those violent offenders, we are always open to those discussions and always willing to assist. We do not ignore that. We are ready and able, and we do that. All of you as part of the media hear us arresting violent offenders all the time. We have not stood down. That is our mission.
Not what it seems like.
Is not alone in arresting violent offenders. State and local law enforcement does that every day at great risk to their life, at great risk to the community. We do it because we want a safe Minnesota, and the federal government is not the only one to do that.
Thank you.